There's nothing better than a good revenge drama to sink your teeth in. I'm gonna be breaking down the Queenmaker, but in a TLDR version. Queenmaker revolves around corrupt and powerful figures who lack morals and conscience that prey on the weak and helpless. At the center of it all, Han Do Hee, the chief strategist of the Unsung Corporation. She pretty much helps the family avoid negative public scrutiny and makes their problems go away. She's a fixer and she fixes things. But everything changes when one of her employees, Honey Sol, decides to end her life due to being a victim of assault from Baek Jimin, positioned to be the next mayoral candidate of Seoul. I'm telling you guys, this guy takes the cake. He's not only assaulted Sol, but has also fabricated a bunch of lies from a phone that he uses to kind of send these false text messages that threatens to blackmail him. So he convinces Han Do Hee that he's the victim out of all of this and convinces her that he needs to get rid of her or like fire her in some sort of way, and she does that. Han Do Hee is ruthless when it comes to this and ends up kind of creating this chain of events where Honey Sol eventually ends her life. And right away in this story, this is the villain that we are looking forward to going down. Consumed by guilt, Han Do Hee quits her job, or should I say is fired from the company. Holding on to whatever's left of her conscience, she partners up with Oh Kyung-suk, a labor rights attorney who enters the mayoral race to take down Baek Jimin and Miss Sun, the chairwoman of Unsung that holds all the power and pulls all the strings. And so begins the back and forth game, including all of the dirt that gets thrown at everyone involved. The race to the next mayor of Seoul begins. Although the first half of the drama focuses on the battle between Oh Kyung-suk and Seo Jung-min, the incumbent leader of the Reform Party. What starts as tactical and petty smear campaigns against each other quickly devolves into complete chaos. With Seo Min-jung losing every step of the way, she eventually collapses under the pressure and resorts to some evil tactics. Behind the scenes though is the chairwoman, who has brought in Carl Yoon, a legendary strategist to fight against Han Do Hee. And it doesn't get dirtier than what this guy is willing to do. He eventually helps Seo Min-jung with some of the dirtiest schemes in the drama so far at this point. In order to turn the tables in her favor, she resorts to fake news, blackmail, and perhaps the worst crime of it all, murder. Well, maybe not murder, but it might as well be. Their plan was to strike Do Hee and Kyung-suk with a barrage of fake news that they don't have time to respond because Do Hee's father goes missing. And this is pretty much the catalyst that kind of changes everything for Do Hee, because all of a sudden, her father gets run over like literally in the middle of nowhere. And it's probably one of the most shocking events that happened in this drama so far. So not only is Do Hee seeking justice and revenge for Isol's murder, but now she has to seek vengeance for her father's death. And you know what makes it worse? Ultimately, the guy who is responsible for that, Carl Yoon, visits her at the funeral. With all the damage being done to their campaign, Oh Kyung-suk is forced to announce her withdrawal from the race. But a ray of hope comes in by the way of Do Hee's ex-husband, who ends up broadcasting a recording of his conversation with Min-jung, exposing her evil and corrupt ways. And it was definitely a satisfying moment to see Seo Min-jung collapse and break down. She deserved what she got. Now the lead candidate for the Reform Party, Kyung-suk and Do Hee focus their attention on Baek Jimin. The two candidates trade blows against each other, but with the financial support Jimin receives from the Unsung group, his campaign ends up leading in the polls as well as public sentiment. But everything comes falling down when a series of events starts to unfold. Guk Ji-young, the protege under Do Hee, ends up getting pregnant with Jimin's baby. With that type of information, Do Hee and her team embarks on a smear campaign to turn the female vote against Jimin. With their backs against the wall, Jimin and Carl Yoon must resort to desperate measures. To turn the tide, they'll create a martyr out of Ji-young by staging her death and blame Do Hee and Kyung-suk for driving her to end her own life. As the final days of the election closes in, a final debate between Jimin and Kyung-suk will take place on live television. During the debate, Jimin and Carl Yoon will use Ji-young's death as a catalyst to swing the votes in their favor as their final death blow. Unbeknownst to them though, Dong-ju ends up saving Do Hee and Ji-young during the attempt, allowing Ji-young to make a final statement about the corruption and attempt on her life and baby in the hands of Baek Jimin. Do Hee confronts Jimin one last time by showing him the recording Isol took with her phone before her death. The recording also goes viral, which is the final nail in the coffin for Jimin. What makes it even more satisfying is that he finally learns that Carl Yoon was responsible for his father's death, and that working with him was somehow a way for him to atone for his sins. Kyung-suk wins the election by a landslide and everyone lives happily ever after. Oh, just kidding. With the huge loss to the mayoral election, the chairwoman decides that it's time to put all the blame on Baek Jimin and proceeds to assassinate him. What makes the scene ironic though is that while Jaemin's final breaths are taken, Kyung-suk's new life as mayor begins. It was definitely one of the most satisfying moments to watch in the drama, but it doesn't end there. Do Hee purposely sacrifices herself to the law by accepting illegal funds to the campaign from the chairwoman's oldest daughter through some slush funds. This creates an investigation into her corruption, which ultimately takes her down and her empire crumbles. Okay, some of the series of events that happens in this drama might be really frustrating. Was it far-fetched and unbelievable? Yes. But also, was it entertaining and thrilling? Absolutely. But in the closing moments of the drama, there is a scene that might hint about season 2. We don't know who this person is that's visiting Do Hee in prison, but I would assume it's some kind of political figure, like going into some kind of race, and setting things up for season 2. And what also sets things up for a possibility for season 2 is that Carl Yoon, that dirtbag, is still out there free at large. And there's still some loose ends to tie up there because he was responsible for Do Hee's father's death. And so, do we want a season 2? I think there's room for that, and I would definitely welcome it. This show had me at the edge of my seat, and I stayed up all night watching it, and I just couldn't stop. I guess the main theme of this drama, though, is really about morality and whether you can live with a guilty conscience, and obviously the tried and true good versus evil, justice, truth, loyalty, and revenge. Great performances all around, especially the actress Kim Hee-ha, who plays Han Do Hee. Her moments on screen were so amazing in terms of the emotions that she was portraying, her ability to kind of shed those tears and really kind of break down the emotions of what she was going through. It really transcended through the screen and it kind of made me go through a whole bunch of emotions as I was watching her performance. But I think at the end of the day, this is sort of like the K-drama version of House of Cards. Anything can happen, and politics is just really damn dirty. But we're always up for watching the rich, the privileged, and the powerful who prey on the weak and the helpless go down in flames. But I'd love to know what were the most satisfying moments for you in this drama, and I might think about doing like a top 10 most satisfying moments for this, so let me know what you think about that idea and leave your comments and suggestions down below. But in any case, that is it for me, guys. If you like Asian dramas, K-dramas, and K-pop reactions, consider subscribing if you haven't already. Tap that bell so you know when we post new videos. And once again, this is what we're watching this Sunday. We'll see you next time. 속에 난 그대만